So Jon Stewart, yet again, on fire, now that he's back on The Daily Show and doing the shows on Monday. Let's see, what has he done? He took aim at Netanyahu one week, went after Tucker Carlson another week. I think he did a fair and objective segment on both Trump and Biden one week. And now it's now the target is MAGA. And I'm going to let him speak for himself here, but honestly, I think this says it all about the ones who remain, who are incredibly sycophantic and loyal to Trump. Let's watch.
That's why these patriots love Donald Trump, for he alone will restore the rule of law in our constitutional republic.
Trump's lawyer claimed the president has a legal license to murder his American political rivals.
Just gonna check my foot on. Just gonna check mine. I actually keep my heart next to my Constitution. That's how important. My hands are shaking. I'm so nervous. I don't see anything in here about assassinating your political rivals. Oh, here it is. Hold on. Ah, yes. It says the president must faithfully execute. Well, I think we're done here. Oh. Sorry. The laws of the land. Never mind. Well, I don't want to be a nitpicker, but I do not remember the assassination episode of Schoolhouse Rock. Under the Constitution, wouldn't you get in some trouble for that?
I feel that as a president, you have to have immunity. Very simple.
Yes, it is the bedrock American constitutional principle. The president must be above the law.
I love how when talking about Biden and the Democrats, he's like, we got to go after them. We got to get retribution and retaliation and revenge. And like he wants to prosecute and persecute his political opponents. And then in the same breath, he's like, a president has to have total immunity. You absolute jackass. That would apply to Biden too. He is president right now. So any sort of precedent you want to set that a president can do whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want it, then you can't turn around and say you got to go after Biden. It wouldn't be possible to go after Biden in that scenario. I mean, look, this isn't exactly, a novel discovery here, but Trump's just an idiot. Like he doesn't realize that, like, if you set a rule in this scenario, it also applies to Biden.
Out of reach of the law. Look, forget the Constitution. Accountability to the law of the land is basic Magna Carta shit. Keep a tiny Magna Carta in my... You know what? I'm sorry. This is just a flip book. Hold on. Oh, a dog's never going to catch that car. Maybe they like Trump because he's more of a Bill of Rights guy.
President Trump attacking the First Amendment and freedom of the press.
You take the writer and or the publisher of the paper, a certain paper, and you say, who is the leaker? National Security. And they say, we're not going to tell you. They say, that's okay, you're going to jail. And when this person realizes that he is going to be the bride of another prisoner very shortly.
I believe it was Thomas Jefferson who once said, our liberty depends on the freedom of the press. Though obviously, as with any right, there is some wiggle room for non-consensual ass Don't blame me, that's Jefferson. He said that. Thomas Jefferson. Look it up. Hold on, let me get it. But that's the press. The press are the enemy of the people. How does Trump feel about freedom of assembly?
He says, can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something. And he's suggesting that that's what we should do, that we should bring in the troops and shoot the protesters.
The commander-in-chief was suggesting that the U.S. military shoot protesters.
Yes, in the streets of our nation's capital. That's right.
Well, there'd still be free to assemble, just the assembly would be more of a pile. That's all. But that's just hearsay from Trump's Secretary of Defense at the time. Look, how about the Fifth Amendment, due process?
Very simply, if you rob a store, you can fully expect to be shot as you are leaving that store.
What the are we doing? I'm pretty sure that shooting a guy on suspicion of stealing a pair of khakis violates not only the Constitution, but the Ten Commandments and the Gap Employee Handbook. All right. I promise you that is the end of the things in my jacket. Now, we've had our fun dancing around the former president's rather eccentric interpretations of our country's founding document. May I offer you something more explicit?
I only want to be a dictator for one day.
Just so you know, that is how it starts. I'm not saying anybody has to do the arms salute. Let's just start with a few people doing the arms salute, and we'll see if the arms salute catches on. Ignoring the Bill of Rights, tearing up the Constitution, pining for a brief stint as a dictator, well, that settles it. When the good, patriotic, Constitution-loving, real Americans hear Trump's disrespect and disdain for our sacred constitutional principles, they will be outraged.
I'd rather have Donald Trump as a dictator for 4 years. Absolutely. This country needs a dictator. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
He could stand on the front steps of the White House and commit murder, and I'm with him.
If he says it, then I'll go with it. And if he wants to be a dictator, then so be it.
Look, this is what the polling shows, too. We discussed that. There was a very infamous poll that came out which showed that Trump supporters have said, look, I take his word over anybody and everybody. I don't care if my mom or my dad or my son or my daughter or my uncle or my best friend or my mentor or a religious leader or whatever. I don't care if they contradict him. I'm going with Trump in that scenario. Well, in a situation like that, it would just be factually wrong for us to not call it cultish. And that's what you're seeing right here. And look, this should disturb everybody. This shouldn't be a partisan thing, but apparently it is. With the exception of some who are on the Republican side who are like, I'm not with this either. But the polls are disturbing. He dominates primaries. He'll struggle in general, but he dominates primaries. Jesus Christ.
But it's the truth.
He could stand on the front steps of the White House and commit murder, and I'm with him.
If he says it, then I'll go with it. And if he wants to be a dictator, then so be it.
This is it. The Thomas Nast cartoon. Patriots festooned in American flags, co-signing dictatorship. Remember We the People? You know there's more words after that, right? Smaller font, still binding. Look, if you want to love Trump, love him. Go to the rallies, buy the sneakers. You want to give him absolute power? You want him to be the leader uber alles? You want him to have the right of kings? You do you. But stop framing it as patriotism. Because the one thing you cannot say is that Donald Trump is following the tradition of the founders. He is advocating for complete and total presidential immunity. His words, not mine. That is monarchy shit. And it's your right to support it. But just do me a favor for historical accuracy. Next time you want to dress up at the rallies, wear the right colored coats.
True. Look, we should do what we can to try to get people out of that downward spiral, to not say things like, I support him as a dictator. But ultimately, he's right here. If they're going to do it, at least be honest about it. At least be like, I'm an authoritarian. I'm fascist. I believe in tyranny. I believe in having an emperor, overlord, god, king, as long as his name is Trump. And yeah, the actual connection, historically, if you want to make it, it ain't to the American side of the Revolutionary War. It's just not. It's just not. It would be to the British, loyal to the crown, right? But that's the thing, man, is that our politics don't make any sense. They make no sense. And so you can have people who, wrap themselves in the flag and then turn around and say the most un-American shit you could ever imagine. That's where we're at right now. And it's a terrifying thing. But look, man, he absolutely torched MAGA here. And I think it was fair, right? I mean, I've seen plenty of examples on MSNBC where they go after Trump supporters and it kind of strikes me as unfair, right? Or they go after Trump himself and they somehow find a way to overreach. There's a million things you can legitimately criticize, but then they somehow find one criticism that's not fair. Like Russiagate comes to mind. Somehow he's like Vladimir Putin's puppet and he's a Manchurian candidate and he's been that since the 1980s, as Jonathan Chait said. But this is an example of going after Trump, not just Trump, also his supporters, which I think is fair, right? I think in 2016, it was a different story. There were plenty of people who were like millions who were 2 times Obama voters who then flipped to Trump. And they'll tell you, look, I don't love the stuff he's saying about Muslims or Mexicans or whatever, but I want my job to stay here. He's going to keep it here. I think Hillary's going to outsource it. There were plenty of people like that, plenty of voters like that. And that's what my analysis was at the time, that you have to go get those people who are gettable. But the fact of the matter is, today, in 2024, after already having 4 years of Trump, seeing how he governed, after him already trying to overthrow the election, after him having 91 criminal charges, after him saying we should terminate or suspend the Constitution, after him saying stuff like all the stuff that Jon Stewart just played, if you're still looking at that and you're going, nailed it, well, sorry, but my sympathy has run out. And now it's time for tough love, if there's any love left at all. So absolutely nailed it. He's on a roll. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.